The rain hadn't stopped for 2 straight days. It hammered against the glass walls of my study, echoing the chaos raging inside me. My 12-year-old son sat across from me, nervously swinging his legs. Behind him stood his mother, my ex-wife, Clara, with that same smug smile that always meant she'd already won. "Dad," my boy muttered, barely lifting his eyes. "I don't want your last name anymore." Those words sliced through me like a blade dipped in ice. Clara placed her manicured hand on his shoulder. "Ethan's decided he wants to take my husband's last name," she said. "A real man's name." I stared at her, the same woman who once held my hand through sleepless nights, whispering, "We'll build everything together." Now she stood there trying to erase me from my own bloodline. I didn't yell. I didn't plead. I didn't argue. I simply reached for the pen on my mahogany desk, clicked it once, and said calmly, "All right, sign here." She laughed, mistaking my stillness for surrender. Ethan signed without hesitation, already poisoned by his new father figure's charm. When they left, the rain finally stopped. I remember looking out at the clearing sky and whispering, "So be it." My name is Daniel Price, estate lawyer, philanthropist, and once a man foolish enough to believe love could outlast betrayal. I built everything from nothing. After losing my parents young, I made myself a promise to create a family that would never know the pain of loss. For years, I worked relentlessly, built my firm, invested wisely, and designed a trust to protect my family's future. Clara and I lived a life most people only dream about: comfort, success, stability. But prosperity has its shadows. Somewhere along the way, Clara started craving more. She met Patrick, her fitness trainer turned entrepreneur, the kind of man who thrived on charm and risk. He promised her excitement, and she followed it straight out of our marriage. When she left, I didn't fight for the house, the cars, or even custody. All I asked for was time with Ethan. She agreed, so long as her new husband allowed it. That was the day I learned the difference between love and ownership. Patrick, tall, polished, fake confidence wrapped in tailored suits. A man who built himself up by tearing others down. He'd show up at Ethan's soccer games, making sure I could hear him say, "That's what real dads do, they show up." Claire would laugh. And soon, Ethan began echoing his words. Every dig, every insult, every condescending look. I took it all quietly. Because revenge doesn't belong to the loud. It belongs to the patient. The night my son told me he didn't want my name anymore, something inside me broke. Not from anger, but from heartbreak. For years, I'd built my estate plan down to the smallest clause. Every property, investment, and asset was protected under trust and succession laws. The family estate could only pass to blood carrying the Price name. So when they stood in my office demanding that name be erased, I didn't resist. I watched Ethan sign a single document, a name waiver and identity release. Clara smirked. "You're pathetic, Daniel. You think a signature scares us." I said nothing, because in that moment, everything had already changed. A week later, my assistant buzzed me. "Daniel," she said, "Richard's on the line. Clara's with him. She sounds panicked." I smiled faintly, put her through. Clara's voice trembled. "What did you do?" "The lawyer says Ethan's name removal voided his inheritance." Richard cut in, his tone somber. "Ma'am, under the Price Family Trust, only legal descendants bearing the Price name are beneficiaries. By signing that document, your son forfeited all inheritance rights irrevocably." I heard her gasp. "You tricked me." "No," I said quietly. "You tricked yourself. I just let you sign what you insisted on." Patrick's voice erupted in the background. "You can't do this." Legally, I replied, "I didn't. You did." Days later, headlines filled the news. Millionaire revokes family trust. Ex-wife facing financial ruin. The mansion leased in Patrick's name. His gym business drowning in debt. The jewelry, the cars, the luxury, all gone within months. Meanwhile, I quietly transferred the estate into a new foundation named after my parents, dedicated to helping single fathers and children abandoned in custody battles. Then came the call from Ethan's school. He'd been withdrawn. Clara had disappeared, trying to rebuild a life without the golden safety net she'd gambled away. One evening, as I was locking up my office, the door creaked open. Ethan stood there, muddy shoes, tear-streaked face, holding the crumpled waiver. "Dad," he whispered, voice shaking, "can I be a Price again?" I walked to him, knelt down, and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Son," I said softly, "names don't make men. Choices do." He sobbed. "I made a bad one." I pulled him into a hug. "Then start making better ones. That's how we fix things." Clara once told me I wasn't a real man. Maybe she was right, because real men don't chase revenge. They build redemption. The estate never came back to me, but something far more precious did. My son's heart. He now helps me run the foundation. Every time we sign papers together, he insists on one thing, writing his last name in bold. "Because I earned it," he says proudly. "Betrayal can strip you of your wealth, your pride, even your name, but it can never take your worth. True strength isn't in vengeance. It's in reclaiming yourself with grace. If you believe truth always finds its way, even through heartbreak, remember this. The strongest signatures are written in silence and in patience.